What's up, y'all, and welcome to Skyrim Scripting. This is a streaming episode, so I don't entirely know what I'm gonna do, but I think I know what I'm gonna do, and we're gonna make some custom console commands because that sounds super fun. A couple weeks ago, I released this mod called Custom Console Commands. It was my very first Nexus mod. Yay! And it was super janky. The way that it works is totally hacky. Let me show you real fast. So let me go ahead and download it, cause it totally sucks, but it was cool when I made it the first time. I've been working on this like the past day to make it not totally suck, and it's been really fun. But let me use the version that's actually on Nexus because it blows. And so it requires Papyrus Util, like a million other things do, which requires SKSE. Rad, make sure you've got SKSE. Awesome sauce. Let's download that. I'm going to download this, but I'm also going to download this like little, I had to remove perk points. Oh, can you not do that by default? Because that would be super, okay, you made a workaround for that. This will make it so easy. It's so easy to make custom console commands, but it was a pain to get it working. So when I've got this mod out and I've got V2 out, oh my god, it's gonna be so sweet. So I'm going to download this miscellaneous file, which is an example of a custom console command, and it just makes your player or whoever you choose in the console dance. And it's like the easiest way to see how totally janky and awful this thing is. So I've already downloaded all these things. Let me install custom console commands. Let me install, there you go, Papyrus Util. There you go. Here's the dancing one. I'm just in Mod Organizer 2, but you can use whatever you do you. Cool, I've already got it here. Boop, boop. Let's go into game. Let's go into game. Oh, cool. I'll check it out. Kind of want to read your codes. Console commander, add or remove. Cool. Because here's my janky hack, and I got a Khajiit as my little, I want to make a mod that just has a little faux mod installer that lets you choose whether or not, from whether or not your starting character is like a guy or not, and an Argonian, human of some kind, or a Khajiit, and you'll get like those 6 choices, 3 dudes, 3 chicks, and choose it in a faux mod, so you'll get an ESP that's updated, and it'll change your starting character. Because if you're like me, when you hop into the game as a mod author all the time, you just COC into it, and I got really sick of that just dude with the iron gear. Plus he's got dark face issues. So yeah, I've got a Khajiit, but it'd be cool to have something that lets you choose from the things that you can't edit from the ESP, and then like use an MCM menu that'll save a JSON configuration where you can tweak like their starting gear and whatever, and so it'll just do it every time. I got so sick of that dude. So let's make this chick dance. And if I type dance, then like if you look right here, it's gonna look really shitty for a second. I don't know if you noticed, but like it kind of blinks. In web development, we call that like a flash of unstyled content. So what it does is if you type like dance 1, the console prints out script command dance 1 not found. And so what this mod did initially, and totally fixed it and it's better, we won't do this anymore, was whenever you type dance, the Skyrim console runs dance and it totally prints out script command dance not found. But my original mod looked for that, found it in the console, and erased it. So it just erased it, but it actually gets printed out to the console first. So that's super janky. So I figured, how about we just completely take over the console? Let's just completely take over the responsibility ourselves of what happens when you open up the console, type a command, and hit enter. So I did that, and because I'm recording as well as streaming, oh, let's let her dance for a second. Da 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 da. This is one of the Cicero dances. let me just start to show you how I did it, and then maybe I'll jump ahead to my current version, which is fun. I could show my current version first, except it's totally like in the middle of hacking. So let's do it by hand first. And so I'm going to delete custom console commands, remove mod, and I'm just going to make a new one. And we're going to call it like custom console commands. I'm just going to do CCC for right now so I don't accidentally like override my other folder. And what does it need? Right now it doesn't need anything creation kit wise. We are going to want a player script so that we can hook into some events like when the person types on the keyboard. But first, we just want to look at the actual console.swf. It's like we actually want to edit the console itself. So it's pretty easy / totally not easy, somewhere between totally easy and totally not, you know, if that makes sense. So if you go to Skyrim Special Edition folder and you head on into your data folder, there's a bunch of BSAs, Bethesda Softworks Archives, and if you don't already, you should install BAE, the Bethesda Archive Extractor, so that you can just go boop and double click it and open it up. You want to look in the interface one, because the interface one has all these little compiled Flash files, SWFs, if you remember Flash from back in the day. So I'm just going to like extract this entire thing into my downloads directory or somewhere so that I can look at it really easily. It's got these interface files and these strings. Let's go look at them in another folder. I don't really care about these strings. What I care about is everything in the interface folder. And it's got some extra stuff in here that I was hacking on before. So if you ignore the action script and Flash files right there, this is what you should see by default. A bunch of SWF files. There's one for books, there's one for bartering, there's one for, I still have some of my action scripts exported here. There's one for the sleep wait menu, there's one for whatever, and there's a console one. And you can just open it up, and if you got the JPEG's Flash decompiler, which is super easy to find, it's usually what I get when I just search for like Flash decompiler. It's usually the first thing that comes up. Boop. It's on GitHub, and then you can go to the releases, which are behind me, boop, and just grab the latest installer and grab that. I guess I could go small in the corner because I'll eventually be in the way. Sure, I'll go small in the corner. All right, there you go. So let me open up this console.swf using JPEGs and see what we get. I'll probably already have some folders expanded, so I'll close them. You'll always get asked about the GFX font. You can say no to all, and this always opens up on another monitor, which is annoying as all get out. But let me grab it from my other screen. Hopefully it'll be in the mood to work. Good, cool. So when you open this up, there's a bunch of things that you can look at. Frames is one of them, so you can find something like this annoyingly really fast frame going up and down, but you can see that it's the console. And if we go into sprites, there's a frame here that actually has all of the different text entries for the console. So that one up there is whenever you click on something, it shows like double quotes, parentheses, and then the form ID of whatever you clicked on it. It could be like a door, and then you can type unlock. It could be an actor, and then you can give them stuff or open up their container menu, whatever. And then the grayed out one over here is the history, and then this one down here is the current entry, whatever you're currently typing. So we can actually totally get to all of these things and edit them and do whatever we want. So the next version of the mod that I've got coming out, I'm just going to call it console helper probably, and then I'm going to have a second one which is just focused on custom console commands, probably called console helper because console util is totally a thing and console util is awesome, but this will actually let you do a lot more than console util lets you do, unless console util lets you select what the currently selected reference should be. That's the only thing I've been able to get working so far. But whenever you open this up in the context of being a coder, you want to go to scripts. And you want to go up to packages, open up packages. There's always going to be some shared stuff and some GFX stuff. That's like the game effects engine or something. which we'll look at. And then you want to look at whatever is here. So for the console, it's console. For like the inventory menu, there's a couple of files. Okay, cool. Cool. Try simulating. I want to read it. I'm going to read it after we're done. I'm going to read your mod. Because in here, we can take control over like everything. What's really, really sweet is if you're using SKSE, and it's only if you're using SKSE, which is everyone, you can call functions on any of these Swift files. These are compiled Flash files. So because it's compiled, although this looks like I opened up some source code, I didn't really. What JPEX did was it extracted out all the different assets from the compiled Swift file. It ended up building this P code source, which you can kind of think of as like assembly code for Flash. And then they've got some really, really nice code that converts this into this and makes it look as if a programmer actually wrote it. And you can actually edit this code. It's got some problems, but you can edit it, which is pretty sweet. And you can call any of these functions. Like there's functions for hiding the menu. There's functions for showing the menu. There's functions for getting previous or next command or tweaking them. You can add stuff to the history box, clear the history box, and you can actually get references to all of those things that we just looked at up in sprites. This is the command entry part, that's the command history, the red box, and then up there is where the current selection is. You can totally get references to all those things and edit them however you want to, which is totally cool. So let's try something. Let's edit a thing. So if we want to override this, and let's close this because I'll open it up in another folder. We made our little new mod that we called CCC, and we're going to open it up, open and explore. Coolio. Now all we want to do is we want to put this console.swf into it, but it needs to go inside the interface directory. So we grabbed this from the BSA file, but as my watchers probably know, but not everyone who watches the recording, if you put any files into a mod that are loose files, which means they're not in a BSA, they'll always override whatever is in a BSA file. So we can just put interface console here, and then whatever we put in there will override the built-in Skyrim one. Now there's one issue with this, which is there are a couple of mods out there that already edit the console. I think More Informative Console is one that comes to mind. So for me to get my custom console commands working, I'm definitely going to need to make patches for those. So I want to try and find all of those. I know I like to use More Informative Console sometimes. But let's tweak this. Let's totally edit it. I'm going to open it up. I've got a couple of decompilers because I've been trying all of them. I even got CS4 up and running, but I haven't been able to get that totally working yet. I totally need to reach out to like Expired or someone for help. So, because I really would love some CS4 tutorials that are specifically for like building widgets for Skyrim, because no one's done it. I haven't found any tutorials that are like that. So under packages, we're going to go to console, and let's just edit like one thing. There's this little thing here that says key add listener, and that'll just let the script pay attention to what's being typed. And if we look down here, there's an on key down. Now in Papyrus, this is the equivalent of up here saying register for key, and there's 4 things that they're listening to. They're listening to the enter key, the return key on the numpad, the page up and the page down keys. So that's what they're listening to. So it's the equivalent of saying register for key, those 3 things. And then on key down is our equivalent of on key down, event on key down. So whenever you type 13 or 108, these are enter or return, it executes the command. And this is pretty cool because we can actually tweak this and get direct access to this execute command function, which we'll do, and it's awesome. And then it just says if you do page up or page down, it'll scroll through the history. So let's just make it not do anything. Let's just take away its ability to know when we hit the enter key. and see what it does. So we're going to edit ActionScript because you can do that. There's also an edit P code behind me. So you can edit the P code, the assembly type of stuff, or the ActionScript itself. It's going to pop up, hey, this is experimental, and you can check the box. I know, don't tell me again. And so I'm just going to like comment out this key.add_listener. There's really no such thing as a comment out because it's just going to not run. It's going to go away. So when I hit save, it's going to disappear. Poof, it's gone. And now if I save this, it's going to actually recompile a new SWF with this code so that that little listener is gone. So if I hit save, it takes like a second and then it refreshes everything. And I head into game with this mod enabled, which I've got it enabled, so our console.swf should take over the built-in one. Let's see if I didn't mess anything up. I'm going to hit tilde to open up the console. I'm going to try and COC to Riverwood. And I'm trying to COC to Riverwood, but I can't because the enter key does bugkiss. It doesn't do anything. I can't even QQQ out of the game. I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm going to have to hit quit like a barbarian. So we probably don't want to do that because we're going to want to make sure that we can COC into the game, and then once we're in game, we can take over that console. We can take over that console and take responsibility of clicking the enter key, which will be really, really cool and fun. We can't take over the console on that main menu because mods don't run there. Mods don't really run. At least I don't know how to do that. You don't get any of your mod initialization. Quick and clear. I know, right? I know. It's so uncivilized, not QQQing out. I don't know how to, at least without like SKSE, C++ extensions, which I'll get to. I'm going to learn it. There's just so much more papyrus to learn and to share with people first. As soon as I finish sharing all this papyrus and getting it out of my brain, I'm going to do the C++. If you're watching on the like VOD and you've ever made an SKSE plugin before, please let me know. I want to learn a little bit, and I want to talk to you and get up and running. I've been a programmer for a long time. I just need some help. So let's actually make a player script so that when we load the game, we can try and take over the enter key. Cool. Cool. Let's close out of this. And this console we kind of broke because you can't even COC with it. We're gonna edit that in a different way. So let's at least go ahead and I'm gonna open up Creation Kit. I'm gonna do it in Mod Organizer too, but you do you. And open it up. I'll go ahead and save CCC because we are going to need an ESP because we're going to make a quest with a player script. We're going to make a player script so that we can handle not only the mod initialization but also on player load game. So we can do that real quick, like just quest, new quest, CCC quest. We're going to close it before we reopen it. Yada yada yada. Quest alias, new reference alias, player ref. Fill type, specific reference, select forced reference, cell any, pre-populates the player ref. We've done this. We've done this so many times, and we'll add a new script up there, and we're going to call it like CCC player script for custom console command, and reference alias. Cool is what it extends. Dope. Awesome sauce. And then folks at home could obviously, as I say in my normal screencast, they can edit the little box here and just go to a little edit source and put everything in there. But that's terrible for screencast because it's so small and I can't make it pretty colors. So I'm going to edit mine in Visual Studio Code. And when I do this, not Twitch, I pause so that magically I show up in Visual Studio Code. But I can't do that here. I'm going to have to set up that CCC project as a Papyrus project. Thank you to Fire's Pyro tool that lets this even be possible. And Jolde is Visual Studio Code extension, which I love. Now I can go to CCC and edit the script. Rad. Awesome sauce. we got the script. Let's do some stuff. Event on init, event on player load or player load game. We would like do some like initialization, like start listening to stuff on init and on player load game, but we'll do that in the real version. Right now we can just do stuff on init because we're not going to save and load a game. We're just going to hop straight in. So what do we want to do? I want to take over the console, and I want to take over its ability to press enter, but I only want to take over its ability to press enter when I kind of tell it to. Let's first just prove that we can do anything with the console. So let's say when we open up the game, we're going to start listening for when someone opens up the console, and then maybe when someone presses the X key, we're going to tweak the console. We're going to like clear its history and just print out like, hi, you pressed X, just to prove that we're in charge of the console. It is ours now. We've taken it over. So let's say register for menu. Let me turn on my SKSE support because by default I always have that off just in case I don't use SKSE. Boop. And now just because I'm lazy and it makes it faster, I close and reopen this. And now I should get all of the SKSE functions if we want any. I'm going to register for menu console. We can see all of the valid like menu names at it's on the UI script or the input script. It's the UI script. So the UI script page on creationkit.com has all of these valid menu names. And it also has this super really important note here, which we'll look at for how to make a target path to get to call any of the functions on these things and stuff like that. Because there's all of these wonderful, wonderful SKSE provided functions here, like invoke form, invoke bool, invoke blah, 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 that let us invoke one of the functions in the Swift. Super awesome. It's how you can integrate with a custom Swift that you make, or one of the built-in ones in the game, or one of the built-in ones of the game that you totally hack and totally break. So we're going to listen for the menu. So register for menu will let us listen to on menu open, which gets a string of the menu name. We could check that, but we're only listening to the console. We know it's going to be the console. I could just debug message notification or something like, hey, you opened the console. And then while the console's open, let's just listen to the X key or something. We could do it not just when the console's open, we could do it forever. But we could say on menu close, we'll unregister listening to keys. But when you open up the console, we'll start listening to a key. So we want to register for key. And we need the key code for something. I think that's on the input script. I think if you go to the input script on creationkit.com, there's a DX scan codes list. The DX scan codes are different than what a bunch of programmers will be familiar with for other input codes, like what you see in web programming and stuff like that, where the enter key would normally be 13. Here, enter is 28. So let's just grab a key. We'll do like X. 45. 45. When you do, click on X, which is 45. We're going to do a thing. So say event on key down or key up. I don't think it matters. And key code and event. We could check to see that it's X, but we're only going to get this event if it's X, so whatever. I'm going to say, I'm going to call into the console. So how do we do that? Let's look at the console. We no longer have it here in the interface because we're just going to call the regular one before we edit it. So we're going back to our downloads where we extracted it, interface, and here's console, And I'll open it back up so that we can look at like the variable names. And it's going to open up on my other monitor because it always does that because it's annoying and it doesn't know that I do screencasts. So, what do we have here? What do we have? In sprites, you can see, where is it? Is it sprites, text, frames? Shapes, where are you? Just had it open and I was showing y'all. Text, frames, others. I'll look at the code, but I wanted to show you visually. There's that, there's all those three texts. Oh. I had that sweet one where I was showing you the like the three things. Oh well, I know what they're called and we'll look at them in code, but I wanted to show you what they're called. That top one where you select something with your mouse, that one is called current selection, and then the history is called command history, and then the little entry where you type your stuff is called command entry. So let's just like clear the history and we'll put our own text there and say like, haha, we did a thing, just to prove that it's working. And there's a function called clear history. So let's call that and then put our own stuff in history. Or let's just set the entire history text to whatever we want it to be. So it's command history. It's on this. And if I like cargo cult this file, which means just look at the code and just try and copy whatever's there, like I don't have to be really bright or intelligent about it, just like look at whatever's there and just trying to copy it. There's all this stuff over the place that says console.console instance, and apparently that's how you call things like getting to command history. And then if you look through the file, you see that people reference command history.txt. So how do we get to that from our papyrus? Well, it's a little gnarly at first, but then it makes total sense. So if we look in this UI script documentation, there's this funny thing that says the target parameter requires one of the following prefixes. For default stuff, you need global. And so if we look at these strings, we look at all these things, there's one function that we get with Papyrus called invoke, which invokes the ActionScript function at a given target location. So you call invoke, you give it a menu name, that's like one of these, so you give it console. So we want to say invoke console, and then you give a target, and then if we believe what's at the bottom, it starts with global. So we know it's underscore global, and then some stuff. So let's try it. So let's call UI.invoke, and it takes these two arguments. So the first one is console, and then the second one has to start with this global thing. And then what? How about just console? And then we saw those people in the code in the flash file itself saying console instance.command history. Like if you look at the code in there, there's a bunch of places where they say console instance dot command history dot text, and that's how they set it. So I'm just going to try it and see if it works. Console instance dot command history dot text. Ooh, this would be invoking a function to clear the text, but we're going to set it. We want to set a string. We're going to say, ha ha ha, we took over your console. And let me zoom out so I can see if my build works. I'm going to save and compile. And it works, I think. Cool. Didn't seem to blow up. This just happens sometimes when I think because my stuff is on Dropbox, sometimes Dropbox will like keep a hold of your files when you're writing them, and then whatever. Sometimes it leaves behind these Papyrus PAS assembly files. If you ever see those, you can just delete them. It doesn't matter. So let's close Creation Kit so that I can run Skyrim because I'm using Mod Organizer 2, and that's how you have to do it. And we'll do it with SKSE. Let me make sure I've got this plugin enabled. There it is, and let's go. We did this on the on-init. We registered for when it opens, and then when we said when you press X, we're gonna do this thing. So let's try it. COC Riverwood, or I could go to wherever. Let's go to Riverwood. I'm sure there's some light myself. It's raining. It's kind of loud, so I'm gonna switch it because I'm using my always raining in Skyrim. And this little hack, you can go to the wait menu and it'll change the rain. Because I can't tell if you actually wait or not. I just know if you open and close the wait dialog. So let's open this up. Hey, you open up the console. Cool, sweet, something worked. We can type some stuff that doesn't have X in it. Player.add item F1000. Cool, let's have 1,000 gold. Let's hit X. Ha ha ha! We took over your console. Ha ha ha! Ooh, Whiterun. I COC'd to Whiterun once and got attacked by a wolf, and I've never gone back. And you end up so far from Whiterun. I bet like Whiterun Exterior 01 is probably like down at the bridge or something. If there is one. Every town seems to have an Exterior 01. But I went to, cool, that brings you right to the stables. CC Whiterun. Puts you on like this bridge, right? And, I totally turned around once and just like got attacked by a wolf. Which I guess should never happen because the game should always be the same at the beginning. Or maybe I'm just crazy, but which we know is a fact. Cool, I took over the console. Sweet, 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 sweet. Now, let's try something. I'm going to try and in this console thing, let's move it to our plugin so that we can override the console like we did before. I'm going to put console into interface so now we can hack on it. And I'm going to open it up in the decompiler again. Say no to the font stuff, we don't care. Put it back on the right screen. And there's all these static variables. When there's some variables in here, I want to add my own Boolean. And I want to add a Boolean that's like custom commands enabled. And we'll set it to false by default. And that will allow you to do COC from the home menu and hit enter. But if we set custom commands enabled to true, then the built-in Skyrim console won't be able to hit enter. We're going to take over the enter key all by ourselves. So I'm just going to try something simple first. I'm going to edit the action script, and I'm going to add a little variable here. I'm just going to say this is action script. It's very like JavaScript. I think it's valid JavaScript. It's action script 2. ActionScript 3 is like legit valid JavaScript, but also partially valid Java. I don't know. I did it like 15 years ago. This dot custom commands enabled equals false. And I'm just going to save that. Now, let me actually do one thing. I'm going to copy this P code stuff. And let me actually take this CCC directory, and I'm gonna do something you don't need to know how to do. I'm gonna make it a Git repository. I'm gonna make a new file that represents this P code source because I just want to see what changes. Just want to see what changes. It's a little bit low level. I know it's super duper low level. But I want to see what changes. I'm going to make a new file, and I'm going to call it console.pcode and just paste this in. Boop. Cool, 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 cool. And now I've got the console.swf, which I haven't hit save on yet. So I'm actually going to open up an existing repository so that I can get a diff really easily. I'm going to go to CCC, select folder, sure. I'm just going to say initial commit. Got the PPP, the P code file in there somewhere. Is that in there somewhere? Good. Cool, 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 cool. Now I'm going to hit save. Save here, change the action script, which also edited this, and I'm going to hit save, which actually compiles the SWF. All I did was I added this little variable, custom commands enabled. And first let's try and go into game and see if it works at all, because we tweaked it. So does the console still work? Did we totally break it? I don't know. I don't know. COC Riverwood. So far we can type. We can hit enter. Cool, 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 cool. Let's see if our stuff works. It says, hey, you open up the console. Cool. We can player add item 1,000 gold just like we did before. I'm going to try and hit the X key. What the hell? I'm hitting the X key. What the hell? Well, that lovely, lovely, lovely JPEX decompiler tool. Am I allowed to say the F word on Twitch? I know I am on YouTube. It totally effed up our code. Totally broke it. Completely broke it. Completely. So I'm gonna discard all the changes made to it. It opened up something on another screen. No to all. So, benefit of Git, I can just undo what we were just doing. And what I'm going to do is, did I forget to copy all the P code? Is this the new P code or is this the old P code? There we go. There we go. So here's a bunch of stuff that got changed. I'm going to search, and I'm going to search for custom commands, because that's what we added. And this shows up in two places. Apparently, the way that this works is there's something at the very top of it where like every function name goes in here. We don't have to know what this does. We're just like looking at a diff. It's like if you do a hex dump or something, you don't necessarily need to know what's going on. You just look for patterns. So apparently this custom commands got added down here and up here. So down here and up here. That thing seems fine. Apparently you have to put all the names of variables in one place. Cool, whatever. And down here, it's just set a variable to false. Cool. Now what the hell is going on with all this other stuff? Like, you don't have to know what P code is. You don't have to know what assembly is. You don't have to know what code is, barely. All you have to know is that we added one variable to a file, and this is all the shit that changed. So, broke everything. Totally freaking broke everything. So I'm going to jump ahead to the one to use the SWF that I have working. But in case anyone on Twitch is watching the VOD, or in case I post this to YouTube, because so far it's pretty YouTubeable, right? Right, Zach? So I'm going to show you what I did to make this work. So if we search for custom commands, you find it up there, you find it down here. Apparently this is what it does. Apparently it pushes to register 1, custom commands enabled, false. And then it says set member. Set member, just like you do that after any variable or function. It just takes whatever you just said and it makes it true. It just sets it on the console class. So how about we just kind of cargo cult, we just blindly copy this. I'm just going to blindly copy this, okay? And now I'm going to go into edit our file again. There's our console.swf. Yeah, making changes to Swifts for Skyrim is so fun. Thanks for, I would say, like, thanks for using Flash and making it so easy for us, but 10 years ago, I'm sure it was sweet to use Flash for widgets. I just wish we had more documentation, and I wish Adobe hadn't, like, taken away Flash from everyone. It sucks. So instead of editing the action script source, I'm going to edit, boop, right here. I'm going to edit P code. I'm going to jump ahead right after I do this, but just to show you it working, there's this giant line up here that we saw earlier that just has like all of the variable names, and apparently if it's a variable name, you have to put it here. Cool, whatever. That's what the diff showed. I'm going to say custom commands enabled. And then somewhere around here, do we still have the diff open? Let's see, we can look for no translate true. Apparently around 130 is the line number. Somewhere in here, it added this variable. So let's look to the left. We just tried to put it here, like there's this command history no translate true. It looks like that's right there. Command history no translate true. I'm just going to put those lines that we copied right there. Custom commands enabled. Now it's not on the left. I'm going to save it on the right. Now it's on the left. Custom commands enabled. Shows up in the source. I'm going to save. I'm going to copy all of this P code that got saved or whatever right now. I'm going to replace this file just so that we can see the diff, whatever it just did. So it still did a bunch of stuff, but it did less stuff. All it did apparently was it changed a bunch of numbers. There's a bunch of local LOC blahs with numbers. Just changed a bunch of numbers. But it added this and it added this. Let's see if it works. See if it works. Let's see if we didn't break it. And if it works, then I'll use my new SWF, which I totally got working, and we can look at that one. Let's COC Riverwood. That sucked last night. I installed like 3 Flash decompilers. I tried using CS4 a bunch. Totally couldn't figure out how to get it working, even though I used it like a million years ago. Hey, you open up the console, that's cool. Add item F1000. Cool, we got stuff. I guess you do have to say player. I thought you didn't have to say player. We got 1,000. And then, let's try and hit X. We took it over. We took it over. And it's our SWF that we just decompiled and then we recompiled. So let me replace it with the one that I worked on this morning. So instead of this console SWF, and we'll open it up in the decompiler just to see what the changes are. And then we'll actually use it to like do some cool stuff. How long are we into this? Just about an hour. That's a good amount of time, although that counts the 15 minutes at the beginning of wait time. 43 minutes. I'm gonna grab my custom console commands interface console SWF. I'm gonna replace this one. This is the one that we're having fun with right now, that we're working on. We're gonna have way more fun with it in the next hour, at least us. Not everyone has to stay up super late, but if they're working on mods and having fun and keeping me on in the background, then that's awesome. And if you fall asleep, I won't know. The Twitch count will still say 2. No, I don't want to load the assets. It's going to open up on my other screen. I got to bring it over because it's annoying. And so here is my version of the SWF. So I'm just going to highlight a couple things. Custom commands enabled is there. Sweet. Now if I scroll down to where we looked at before, there was that on key down. For the VOD watchers, you could pause and go back. Twitch is terrible about going back, but if you're on YouTube, it's way easier to go back and scroll to try and find out where I was. You can see that there was an on key down which said if they pressed enter or return, then it did a bunch of stuff that ran the current command that the person had put in. And then there was some stuff that says if you do page up, it does a bunch, it scrolls up the console, and if you do page down, it scrolls it down. So all I did was I took those 3 things, scroll up, scroll down, and most importantly, running the command that's currently in the entry box. I extracted those to different functions so that now I could call those myself if I want to. Now I can call the scroll up or scroll down or run command that's currently in the entry function if I want to. And I also, very importantly, made it so that if custom commands are enabled, we don't run any of that. We piece out of this function. It does a short circuit and it returns immediately. As soon as you run on key down, which will run for those special keys, it doesn't run for regular keys because Flash's text input handles that, just not the enter key and things like page up and page down. Car horn honking. If we enabled that Boolean value, it's going to peace out. It's not going to do anything. This is totally what we want, and we can totally try and see this working. It's going to be awesome, and it's so easy. The last thing I did was I said that whenever you press enter or return, I extracted out to this run command entry text function. So if you look at the run command entry text function, I extracted the bit where you execute a command, where that calls out to the GFX game delegate. I extracted that to its own function too. This is maybe the most important thing that I did. Well, for custom console commands, we needed to turn off the enter key, but this is sweet because now we can just easily, and the console menu doesn't even have to be open. You can call execute command and execute a console command. You don't need console util, which requires SKSE. So do we, because this only works with SKSE, but and you would need this custom SWF, but you can basically just say UI invoke console global console instance execute command, put whatever you want in there, player.add item, whatever, put in whatever you want. Let's play with it. It's gonna be fun. It's so much fun. It's super fun when I got this working only a couple hours ago. Alright, we don't need that anymore. We just care about the player script because we're gonna have some fun. What do we want to make it do? What do we want to do? We want to see that we can actually turn off its enter key. We want to make sure that we can turn that off. Right now we're just registering for the X key. Sure, so let's use that for right now. And we'll just have it do something when you press the X key. And what we'll do is we'll have it get the custom commands enabled variable from the SWF, which we can do in the same manner that we did everything else here. If I can undo, like here we set the string. It looks really, really scary, but it's not once you learn to open up the SWF and just kind of squint at it and look for variables. You don't have to understand all the code, just look for variables. And you got to put global, and then like the menu name, which is really the class name in the SWF, and then stuff. Just put stuff. If you see a static function, then you need to run it without console instance. So there's some functions in there that say static. If you try and run it on console instance, it won't work. You have to run it on console dot. So let's just do something on X. Let's make it flip-flop that whole enter key thing. Let's do this. Let's say Boolean custom commands enabled equals, and we'll say UI get Boolean because we want to get a Boolean from it, and it's from the console. That's the menu name, and then we got to do this global.console.console instance dot, and just like it's console instance dot command history, just like we saw here, way up here, it's console instance dot command history, and they set it with this dot command history. I set this dot custom commands enabled, so we should be able to get it in the same manner. So we say console instance dot custom commands enabled, and you don't need to say like dot text or anything. That's because command history is a Flash widget. It's like a little clip or something. It has a dot text property on it. So we'll get that, and then we'll say just if the custom commands are enabled, then we'll turn them off. Otherwise, if they're not enabled, we'll turn them on. So instead of getting the Boolean, we're going to set it. So instead of get, we'll do set, same name. So if it's enabled, then let's turn it off. And if it's not enabled, let's turn it on. compile and see if it works. We'll be able to know because the enter key won't work. So, and we can do anything with this. We can set the text that shows up at the top, which is like where the currently selected form is. You can set whatever you want in the command history area. You can set whatever you want in that little entry area. You can do whatever you want. Let's run SKSE, and I want some tea. Right, if this works, then I'm going to sip tea for a second. Because I haven't had my tea. It's been sitting here. That's the good part about YouTube recording, is I just pause for a second and I have my tea. Twitch is the worst in that way. So, alright. Hey, you open up the console. Let's player.add item F1000. Enter. Cool. It works. I'm going to hit the X key. I'm going to hit up to go back to player add item F1000. And I'm going to hit the enter key. Nothing works. It doesn't work. I'm going to type X. And I'm just going to get rid of the X so that we've typed it once. And it works. You can see that, hear that lovely sound. Love that sound. Sound of getting gold. But if I type X, then I could just get rid of X. Doesn't work. We've done it. We've done it. Now if we wanted to make our own custom console commands, we just want to see when you click X or whatever you do. We'll switch it now to catching when you press enter. We want to see whatever's here, like player add item F1000. And then if it's something that we know we want to run, if it's a registered custom console command, then we're going to run it. If it's something that we don't know, it's like player add item, and we're like, that's not mine, that's not mine. We can just have the game run it itself and then print out the output. So if I QQQ and try and enter, it won't work, but I'm just going to hit X and back, and now it can QQQ out of the game. I promised myself that if it worked, I would have a sip of my tea. I'm gonna have a sip of my tea. Okay, what do we want to have it do now? We're gonna have it do what I just said. We're gonna capture the enter key, and we're actually going to print out like, hey, you're trying to run foo. Maybe we'll make foo do something. Maybe we'll make a dance command again. But it's so nice, and now, if you remember, like way at the beginning of the episode, I showed you how that custom console commands, if you even want to call it that in comparison, mod that is on Nexus mods that I made a couple weeks, super janky. Super janky. It's only like 74 lines of code, and it basically just registers to the enter key, and whenever someone presses enter, it looks at what was just run, and then it uses that to figure out what command to run, and then it like clears out the history with that whole like command not found thing. It's gnarly, it's gnarly. So let's go to, we're gonna want our Firefox so that we can go to those DX codes and grab the enter key, which I think I said before is like 43 or something. I guess I'm wrong. What is it? 28. I was totally off. Alright, let's capture the enter key instead of X, and we're gonna make it do stuff. We can make it do whatever we want. It's ours. It's ours for the taking. 28, I'll just say int enter key. Register for key, enter key code. And we're being nice. We're only registering that key here and here. And then unregistering. So in here, what do we want to do? Well, if we're in here, then you press the enter key. Now, if the custom console commands are disabled, then we don't want to do anything. So actually, as soon as the game loads, we want to turn on our custom commands, don't we? So when in our on init, we want to say something like enable custom commands. Cool. So let's just make that. Let's just do enable custom commands, function, enable custom commands. And we'll just use this code that we had a second ago. It just sets a boolean. And of course, like, in the real version, and I'm gonna have a screencast on this, I think, because I don't like making it myself. I like an audience. I like to teach people. For the few people who put it on in the background, I want to. I'm going to extract all this code out into like a helper function. It's going to be called console helper to make it really, really easy for folks to call all these commands themselves. You'll be able to edit, get, and set the text from the top of the console, the history, what's currently there, and you can add things to the history, you can clear things from the history, you can scroll the history, you can get the individual history items, all of that stuff with just custom simple commands. Okay, cool. Yeah, this stuff is so much fun. Oh my god, I can't believe I've come so long in just a couple weeks. Come so far. I was so proud of that janky thing that I made a couple weeks ago, and then yeah, it's so much fun when you like. I couldn't understand a couple weeks ago how the person who was using UI dot like invoke console global console instance, how they knew how to do that. I was like, oh my god, how did they figure that out? Are they crazy? Did they have the Bethesda source code? And then I learned to read the Swifts. And so when you press the Enter key, we're going to the custom console commands are going to be enabled, so we can just assume that they're enabled maybe. We'll say string command, like the current command that's trying to be run, is UI get string console. Let's see if I remember this by heart. Global console instance command entry dot text. It's right here. We'll confirm it. Aha, command entry. So that's whatever is currently there. What we would want to do is, if this is one of our commands, or regardless, we want to get that text and then we want to clear what they just typed because they hit enter. We want to clear that and like add it to the history. We could just add a command like and say let's just say if command equals, I don't know, gimme gold, gimme, else and if it's gimme, then we'll give them some gold. Otherwise we'll actually invoke it normally. Maybe. Maybe all I'll do is I'm going to print out whatever the person is trying to run. I'm going to print out whatever they're trying to run, except if they run disable CCC, then I'll disable it for them so that we can actually QQQ out of the game, because I don't want to hit quit. That's uncivilized. So if we do that, then we will disable custom console commands. So I'll just say disable custom console commands. It's the same as enable, but we just set it to false. And we could say else if command equals enable CCC, custom console commands, whatever. So if that's the command, we'll say disable custom commands. Come on, it's disable. And then we'll enable, and then other than that, we're just going to print out what they did, and we'll print it out in the console so that we can just prove that we can do that. And we're basically learning along the way how to do some of those things. Like we want to clear the entry. We're going to want to clear what they just typed, and then we're going to want to add a history item. So let's do those two things, or let's handle, I don't know, this first. Yeah, let's just handle this first. We'll say print out to in the history what they tried to run. And we'll say, ha, you tried to run this, but we wouldn't let you. So we'll say, I think there's a function for adding a history item. So we can just go to our Swift. And I think it's just add history. Add to history, add history. It's a static function, which means that you don't run it on console.console instance, you run it on console. So that's just like a little gotcha. So we just say UI.invoke console global.console add history. And we're going to pass it a string, so we say invoke string. And we'll just say, ha, you tried to run, and command. I don't know. It's been too long since we've been in Skyrim. I want to run Skyrim. Then we'll kind of iterate. We'll iterate. The next thing we're going to do is we'll clear the text, and then we'll add it to the history. Well, we just did add to the history. I'm going to change that, and we just do some gibberish and hit enter. It says, haha, you tried to run gibberish. Cool, dope. We can't run player.add item f1000. It says, haha, you tried to run it. You can see that it's printing out next to it. So in our code, we want to update that to add a new line, and that's just going to be a /n. So plus /n to be on a new line. And let's run disable CCC. And we didn't do anything except handle it. But now let's try player.add item f1000. And it gets added. It's added, it's totally captured, and we actually see that it says, haha, you tried to run blank, because the game handled the on key down and cleared that prompt before we got to get our hands on it. So we're not going to want to do that. We're going to want to run these commands on their behalf. So we could do that. Let's say if it's a command that we don't know, we're just going to say debug notification we don't know command, and running it anyway, and we'll just execute the command. So we'll say UI.invoke console, and there's a new instance method, or instance function if you will, that is called execute command. It's just execute command. Function, execute command, and you just give it the command. You should be familiar with this if you use console util, but in this case we don't need console util. It's built in. Cool. Sweet. Global.console.console instance.execute command, and because we want to pass it a string, it's invoke string, and we'll just say comma command. And then we'll learn to clear that command entry in a second. But let's just see this work. And I'm not going to try reload script, because there's funkiness when you try and reload script and you're using SKSE events and like on click handlers. It just gets gnarly. I've only found a couple of like sort of workarounds for that. When you reload script, it gets rid of all your event handlers. So I'm going to say player add item f1000. Added 1,000 gold, and it added to the notifications. We don't know how to do that, and it stays here because we don't clear it from the console, and we keep adding it to the history, but now we've got new lines after it. So let's learn how to clear it from that line. And it even worked with QQQ. It ran QQQ for us because we're no longer letting Skyrim's console do anything with the enter key. It's ours. We took it over. It is ours. So I could recode it to give them control of scroll up, scroll down. So right now we have to hook into page up, page down to fix that functionality. Yeah, I could totally do that. and just take over the enter functionality, but I'll get around to that. So let's learn how to clear out what was typed in the command. We'll get the command and then we'll clear it out right away. So let's look at our code. Here's the original code for running a command, and it says it adds it to the history, it runs it, and then it calls reset command entry, and it calls it on this. Now that means that it's going to be console.console instance. So just reset command entry. If we read reset command entry, it just does two things. It sets the command entry text widget, which has a .text, to empty string. So we could do that ourselves, but it also sets this previous command offset thing to 0. I think that might change where the cursor goes. I'm kind of curious. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll try it. Let's just set command entry text to empty string. I'm feeling adventurous. Let's do UI set string console. And if you wrote this, you would definitely want to move all of these things into helper methods, into like a global script, and you probably wouldn't want global console instance, blah, 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 all over the place. I'm doing that so that it's explicit and in line and easy to read for tutorial purposes. So set string global console instance dot command entry. That's what we just got. We just got the command entry text. So we're just going to set the command entry text to nothing. Cool. And I want to see what doesn't work about it. Because apparently that offset needs to get set. I wonder if it's the cursor. I'm just super curious. And then we'll fix it. And then, yeah, I mean, at this point, it becomes making a mod like custom console commands. At this point, really becomes all about providing a really nice interface to users. And I was providing just one global function called like register command, but in the new version, I'm going to provide a register command, an unregister command, and as well as I want a console helper set of global functions that if people want to, modders out there want to, they can edit all these bits of the console themselves without using without using the UI scripts directly. And then finally, I'm going to have a script that people can extend as a quest script if they want to build up like a command. But I'm going to play with that over the coming, I don't know, couple days or tonight. Because it's not 1 a.m. here, and I still have a bunch of time after this. So I'm going to say player add item F1000. Looks like it keeps working. Oh, the history isn't working. Add item F1000. That item doesn't go into the history. I can't hit up. So two things. Let's not just set this command entry text. Let's actually invoke the function that was made for doing this, and then let's actually add our item to the history, because it's really frustrating not having it in the history because I want to be able to hit up. So we're supposed to just call reset command entry, so that's easy peasy. We just say invoke console instance dot, is it console instance or is it static? It's not static, so it's console instance dot reset command entry. And now let's add this command to the history. Again, we can just look at how they were doing it. They were saying add history. We actually did that before. I don't know if we still have the code for it. So we're just going to call add history right now. So we get the command from the entry, we clear it from the entry, and then we add it to the history. So UI invoke console, is that static or not? Console.add history. We know because it says console.add history that it's going to be a static function. If we look up here, we'll probably find it and find that it is called add history. yeah, static function, it takes the text to add to the history. Global console add history, and then the command. Rad, awesome sauce. Am I missing anything? Oh, invoke string, because we have to pass something to it. We can disable, we can enable. Let's say else if command equal gimme. I could do one of two things. I could say game get player add item game get form OF for gold, comma 1000, or I could just invoke that new execute command thing, which we're using down here, and I could just do literally player.add item. Execute command, I could say player.add item F 42. So we'll do both ways. We'll use the papyrus way of giving them 1000, and then we'll actually execute a command to give them 42, and let's see how that works. And yeah, I think that's kind of it. We add this line to the history. Haha, you tried to run. We don't need that. We don't know the command. If this doesn't fix the up down arrow history key thing, then we gotta fix that. And after I get the kind of console helper and custom console commands kind of tied up, I'm totally, because I'm a nerd programmer, I'm totally going to make it so that you can use variables in the console. I'm gonna add variables. It's gonna be fun. And if you hook it up to some other SKSE plugins, you'll be able to search for forms and stuff like that. But if you already know the idea of a form, like an actor or something, it's gonna be fun. Unless I do something else. I need to learn C++. It's just hovering over me. Alright, sweet. Thanks for hanging out. I know it's wicked, wicked late. So, thanks. Peace. Maybe I'll see you next week. Alright, let's see what this does now. So let's do gimme. Gives us both 1042, which is pretty cool. Let's hit up. Let's fix that. I think I know how to do it. So when we run a command normally, the way that it's built up, it pushes something onto this commands like array or something, and I think that tracks the console history. So there's the console history text, which is what's shown, but then the actual command history for cycling through the commands that have been run is on this array thing. So we're actually going to need to edit the SWF again, because we're going to have to expose this. I don't think there's another way to push to these console commands. Beep, says someone outside. See if anyone else uses commands. Let's search this for commands. Search down. Cool, this is what does the previous command and next command. So this is what is likely tied to the up and down key. It's really obnoxious that I don't know what ties the up and down key to these, but the page up and page down and enter were clearly on key down. It's really, really nice because it means that we can override the on key down for enter. Thank goodness, because that's what we need. But I don't know where in the codes it hooks up the up and down arrow. If I wanted to override the up and down arrow, I'd be out of luck. That would suck. So what are we gonna do? 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 We can get the length of this thing. We want you to be able to edit this array. Now, what do we get from the UI script? we can invoke things and pass them stuffs. We can pass them string arrays. Invokes a string array of ActionScript functions. Do any of these return things? Can we get stuff? We can get variables. And we cannot get arrays, which is frustrating. Although we can. We can get the length of something and we can loop through them. I just don't think we can, and we might actually be able to set them as well. Let's try and get the length of the, I saw this, we did it in our custom console commands. Let's try and get the length of .commands, which is on the instance. So it's instance.commands. Let's try and get that thing's length. So, and then we'll print it out every time we run a command, just so that, it'll probably not change because we're not adding to it. We're supposed to push to it. So let's say this. Let's say int commands length equals UI get int console global console dot. Let me see how much longer we hang out. My hangout buddy's gone, so I need to have I need to get some people to Twitch. I think I need to release more mods and mention my Twitch in them, which is why I want to get some of this stuff done. But ironically, I hold off on getting a lot of these things done because I don't like writing mods without the audience, because I don't want folks to not be able to see how to do stuff. Even if that means there's some long episodes out there, because some people watch them. And Skyrim has like over 400 or something new mods released for it every week. It's crazy. There's a lot of new modders out there. So I want to reach that audience. Console instance.commands.length. And then let's just do debug notification commands length. Commands length. And I think I saw a way to push onto it. I think just using regular array syntax, or it was something wacky. I've got access to a script that does it, because we looped over an array in our custom console commands. I'll actually pull up that code real quick so we've got it to reference. So if I go to GitHub, custom console commands, here's our custom console commands as it was on GitHub. And here's scripts, and here's source, and here's the main player script, which does everything. And does it do anything with length? It gets command length. Ooh, and then it does this weird thing. It gets the most recent command by saying commands dot, and then dot index instead of bracket index. I bet you can use that to push onto it too. Let's find out. This is gonna be crazy, yo. Let's say player dot add item commands length 1. If we run it again, it's just going to be commands length 1, because we haven't added to it. So let's try and add to it. So we know it's length 1, so that means the next index in it would be 0. I don't know if you can set an index that doesn't exist in it, but we're sure going to try, because I don't think you can invoke the push function on it. I mean, we can try. Let's try that first. There's no way it's gonna work. There's no way it's gonna work. There's just no way it's gonna work. Let's do UI.invoke string console global console instance dot commands dot push command. There's no way. There's just no way. Maybe? There's no way. I'm okay with us having to add a new function to expose this functionality if we need to. Alright. Player at AMF1000. Command length 1. Oh my god, I hit up. There's 2 commands. Oh my god. So the history's broken right here. We don't have those new lines, but oh my god, you can push to all the arrays. So, oh my god, you can push to the arrays. Oh my god! Ah! Bet you can clear them and stuff too, if ActionScript arrays have a clear function. Oh my god. Oh, y'all, that is just sweet. Okay. Well, that does that. But the history... What is up with that history? Oh, history, we didn't add a new line. This is kind of looking sweet. And it's not a lot. Police sirens, woo! Here's all the code. That's it. Well, I say that, but we made some edits to the Swift file. Let's try this out, and it should work really well. Man, and I'm only an hour and 36 in? Yeah, that's crazy. It's weird, I mean, I record like... I guess I try and keep my episodes, I've been really focusing on under 30 minutes in the past couple weeks. For the most part, I'm definitely sub-hour, so I'm not used to recording for this long. Player at F1000. Cool, I'm gonna hit up. Now I'll make it 42. So F42. And that actually did exactly what I would want it to do. Hit up, 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 down, down. Left, right, left, right. This is amazing. This is working, and no user would have any idea that the Skyrim console is not processing these commands. It is not. It is because we're executing them, sort of. The console doesn't do anything. It's no longer responsible for the enter key. And when the enter key gets pressed, we call the GFX game delegate directly through the Swift file. Sweet. Disable CCC. And to enable CCC. So now if we do... No, nothing should work. Gimme shouldn't work. If we enable CCC, I don't think you can enable it again. Because we gave it back control. So I kind of like having that toggle, and there's different ways that we could toggle it. But obviously, you can't use the, once you disable it, you can't use the console to turn it back on. So we'll need to provide a spell or an MCM menu or something like that. I don't think this really needs an MCM menu, but sweet, sick. Okay, let me sip my tea, my coffee. No, it's tea, just coffee-ish. It's chai tea, so it's dark. Let me save this. Save game. Cool. I'll push that up. Oh, it doesn't have a repository, because that's just our local version. What do you want to do? I mean, I could go and start creating the console helper. Hey y'all! Shortly after I tried to figure out what to do next, my video and my audio went out of sync and I couldn't get it working again, so I had to quit the stream. Then I tried to start the stream again, but that's not how VODs work, and I'm still figuring out Twitch. So I'm going to go ahead and end here. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy modding. All right, happy modding, everyone. Bye-bye.